Hey, this is Barry John, and I am here to do an intro to doing the Pokemon Nuzlocke challenge. I am going to be playing Red today, and I thought I needed to do an introduction to kind of talk about what is a Nuzlocke challenge and kind of the ideas about it. What are my expectations? What rules am I going to be following? Which rules I'm not going to be following, and whatnot, and kind of what to just kind of expect from this challenge and whatnot. So for the most part, Nuzlocke is if kind of how I think Nuzlocke got started is the idea of people played Pokemon games, got through them, and whatnot, and then they were sitting there kind of like, well, how can we make the next time we play these games a little bit more challenging and stuff? Because really, when you play video games and stuff, a lot of games are like, hey, we start off on doing something easy, and then it's like, well, how can we get into either the normal play of things, or how do we get into the hard mode of playing Pokemon? And sometimes even Pokemon games are just already hard as it is and stuff, and now you're trying to go into that expert mode kind of thing. You never know. So people make up these weird challenges. You can look them up on Google and stuff. Pokemon challenges, they're always kind of right there and whatnot, to basically challenge yourself a little bit. How I kind of look at Nuzlocke challenges and like what are the rules behind it. Um, it's kind of like playing Uno or playing poker or playing Magic the Gathering or other type of games and stuff like that have multiple rules and whatnot. The actual ground rules in itself is one, you're not supposed to bring back your Pokemon or revive them from the dead and whatnot. Fainted, you're fainted. It's gone. You have to release it. That's basically the one core rule even I follow. Even if I don't agree with all the other rules, I think every gamer that does these Nuzlocke challenges kind of can nod their head to this challenge and say, yes, we abide by this rule at all times. Here are where the rules get kind of, I think, a little different by person to person, whoever does these challenges and stuff like that. You're not supposed to use healing items and stuff. You're just kind of supposed to go to the Pokemon Center once you get to the next area, and that's where you heal your Pokemon. I think that puts playing Pokemon Nuzlocke challenges into the expert mode a little bit, because I think that's really, really, really difficult to do. And if you're just kind of starting to do Nuzlocke challenges, that is going to be where it's going to hurt you the most and whatnot a little bit. Not using items. I say use them. And stock up if you can stock up on them. And the other rule is you're supposed to only get one Pokemon en route. I think I'm going to obey that rule for the first two attempts I'm going to do. But when I do 3 and 4, kind of my goal is then to kind of change that rule, is to get all Pokemon that are in that route or whatever, or the best to do so. And once you have the moment to be able to go into the Pokemon Center to release your Pokemon, you can only have one that you caught in that route. I would also make a challenge to do that. And probably what I'm going to do is, if I get into certain towers, or you get into certain caves where they have certain levels and whatnot, I'm probably only going to get one Pokemon per level of the building or cave or whatever I'm in. I'll just get like one per area, and then I'm just going to be like, okay, you're only going to pick one out of that area and whatnot. So I'm going to do that on at least for the first 2 attempts. I'll abide by that challenge, but within route, I have to play the luck game and stuff like that, where when we do attempt 3 and 4, we'll be sitting there playing by kind of different rules and whatnot. So to make it easier and stuff, because somewhere down the line of things, I want to progress. I don't want to sit there and feel like, okay, we did attempt 1 and 2, got nowhere. 3, 4, we did a little bit better and stuff like that. So So when I say attempt, what does that mean? So it means when I say attempt. For example, when I played Pokemon Red, once I've lost all my Pokemon, that is an attempt, it's done. Then we were going to go on to the next Pokemon game, which is going to be Pokemon Yellow. And that'll be one attempt. We're going to always have a different starter, so that means there's going to always be a different storyline. So it's the outcome can always come out, a little bit different, because Gen 1 you're definitely going to see it, I think, the most, because the first attempt, I think what's going to happen is we could somewhat survive with Charmander, but we can't rely on Charmander to win. Where we're going to have to probably use other members of our team, but he stands a chance. As when you go into Pokemon Yellow, you're going to want to use all your other Pokemon and let Pikachu kind of stay in the back a little bit. Even if he's leveled up really good, he's going to be a liability and stuff like that, because a lot of ground Pokemon are not going to do any damage. I mean, a lot of electric Pokemon aren't going to do damage to ground Pokemon. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, it's going to be kind of like, okay, he's going to only be able to do things like Scratch or like Quick Attack or whatever, but Thunder attacks don't affect rock Pokemon, or I should say won't affect ground Pokemon for the most part. So then you're kind of like, well, then you're SOL. So then you're relying on your other team members to carry you through that first victory and stuff. Where versus when you play when I do my blue game or play Leaf Green, it's going to be like, oh, I have a water and grass type. I have an advantage. And then those other Pokemon can kind of be like, yeah, we'll stay behind and stuff. We'll chip in if we need to chip in. So every story is going to be different. And my goal is to try to, as much as I can, if I can, to have a different team when doing attempts and whatnot. So if I feel like we're kind of sticking to the same team, I'm not going to go by the challenge of like, well, whatever you get in that route, the first thing that you encounter is what you're going to go for. I'm going to be like, no, we're on attempt 2. I might change things a little bit or whatever, but stick to the same rule. And then once we get into 3 and 4, it's going to be trying to catch as many Pokemon that are in that route, and then narrowing it down to the one that you think is going to be strong in that you got in that route, because you're still obeying by those rules and stuff. So like I said, and every time I do an attempt, I'll be changing the rules and letting people know that I'm changing the rules, or I'll let people know that I changed the rule as we kind of go and stuff too. I mean, because I think every story and every area you go, you're going to be kind of like, I kind of want to change this a little bit and whatnot. But kind of the goal I think people need to understand is that we should always stick, I think, by the once a Pokemon is fainted, that it's just out of play, no longer in use. And the reason is because if you're not going by that rule, all you're doing is playing the game and trying to beat it, which is good. I think people should do that, but it's no longer Nuzlocke. And it's just playing the game as is and stuff. Like, I think you have to have at least one ground rule where it has to stick no matter what, kind of thing. So, in order for it to be an actual challenge. But I think rule changing and stuff and making kind of your own rules is what defines actually how difficult your challenge is going to be versus how easy it's going to be and stuff. When you do these type of video games and stuff, like you're kind of playing that game and you're like, okay, how difficult do we want to make this, kind of thing? So that's why when people sit there and say not getting items, okay, but you're going to have you have a lot of balls for doing that and stuff, but you're going to have a very difficult challenge trying to get from point A to point B in a lot of these games and stuff like that, where if you do decide to say, hey, we're going to have our full heals, we're going to have our potions and stuff like that, I'm gonna sit there and say, okay, give credit when credit is due. He's sticking to the challenge, but he's playing kind of in the normal mode and stuff like that, which isn't so bad. But even the people that have given suggestions when if you go and typing in things in YouTube and being like, hey, like, what are the rules, and like how should you play this doing this for the first time, even they sit there and say, hey, everybody plays these things different, but here are the ground rules that should stick no matter what. And I think when you're doing this challenge from one experience time and then you beat the game and then you're just sitting there kind of like, well, now what should I do? Change your own rules and stuff and try to make it a little bit harder for yourself and whatnot. Because that's kind of how I think Pokemon should be, is when you play Pokemon the first time, play it in its entirety, with the rule book out the window, and just having fun, get to point A to point B, revive your Pokemon if you need to revive, and finish the game. Second time around, I say, okay, now take that rule of reviving Pokemon, and once they're dead, you have to release them. Then I say, that's probably the rule that you should not be trying to break and whatnot. But the other rules can maybe be in effect or whatever. And then sit there and say, okay, now take this rule out of the book and chuck it out and stuff and whatnot. Challenge yourself every time you do something, and actually go online and actually try to look at all the challenges that are out there and stuff. Try to make your game experience a little different every time you do it, because you'd be surprised how different your story game would actually be when you do that and whatnot. And the other reason that people need to do the whole let a Pokemon faint release kind of thing is also to actually small down your team a little bit. When you play these Pokemon games and stuff, I think everybody has this idea of like, have a lot of Pokemon and have a lot of backup and whatnot, and so that you get a chance to have variety in team and whatnot. And then if something happens, you can always just try again, or maybe switch out Pokemon and stuff. Nuzlocke makes you actually sit there and reduce your team down a little bit. Have Pokemon faint and be released and whatnot, so you can actually get some other ones down the line of things, and then be like, okay, now I have a team. Maybe I have 2 teams, versus sitting there having like 9 to 10 teams that you could sit there and work with and be like, okay, well, now I got to narrow it down and stuff and whatnot. And you may use those same Pokemon, but you're just going to level up or try again and stuff like that. And then you're sitting there kind of like not getting a chance to experiment with other Pokemon and stuff when you do lose and stuff like that. I think having a team of 18 at the end or 24 is kind of a little harsh, but I think having 3 teams to work with at the end, if you're lucky to get that far, is not a bad thing and stuff like that. But or having just a team, having 2 teams and whatnot. Have a team and have a backup team and stuff. In case plan A doesn't work, you got plan B in the hole, always at all times. So that's kind of why it's kind of out there and stuff. But then, there might be the possibility you might go in to the end of the game, though, too, and you're sitting there like, all right, well, now I only just have these 6 or whatever. Or maybe you only have 5. Now you're playing against the odds a little bit and having to play survival mode a little bit. But that's why I always say that, having healing items is not a bad thing. It's having revive items is what hurts you a little bit and stuff, because then you're straying away from the actual challenge of the game and whatnot. So, but having healing items and stuff and battles is never a bad thing and stuff. I think it's what makes the challenge a little bit normal. But if you're going to sit there and go with the extreme and stuff, like you might get far and stuff, but you're definitely not going to beat the Elite Four and the champion by doing that, though, either and stuff. But that's just my opinion, I think, and whatnot. But I've seen people actually pull off these challenges and stuff and do a good job, and I applaud them for actually doing that and stuff. So um, what are my experiences kind of doing this and stuff? Well, that's the thing. I've only actually played. I've done Pokemon Randomizer Nuzlocke Challenge before, where you can set your game where if a Pokemon levels up, it can evolve into whatever Pokemon they want to and stuff like that. And it just gets kind of crazy and whatnot. So I kind of gave up on that. I have done Nuzlocke actually once, and I think I have gotten to the gym and just failed right there and whatnot. But I've seen people who've done worse than I have and whatnot, and they didn't even get to the first gym. So there's that possibility too and stuff. And a lot of it was just coming down to um, just having bad Pokemon and just general and stuff like that. So, but that's neither here nor there. So, but it's going to be kind of a fun challenge and whatnot. And we got basically, I'm trying to look at this now. $12 games that we're going to be playing and stuff, and we're going to give each game 4 attempts, you know. So, but like I said, my goal is I want to actually just have a different storyline and stuff. I think the beginning gets a little bit kind of repetitive and stuff like that, but I want to have a different storyline as best as I can and whatnot. Trying to stick to the rules as much as I can, but also allowing myself to um, cheat a little bit within reason and whatnot, though, too. So, um, for sure. And just like playing Paper Mario, I will try to look up the walkthroughs and stuff to get from point A to point B and whatnot before playing the game and stuff. But I know how to get to the first gym without having too many issues. There really isn't any bad stuff going on in the first area. You're just getting started. You go through a forest and then you face Brock. No Team Rocket, no major issues and stuff, so it's not any real bad stuff kind of going on and stuff. And usually I think a lot of people actually beat the first gym pretty easily doing Nuzlocke. It's getting past the second part is usually the hard part and whatnot. So with that being said, I cannot wait to start this journey with you guys. My goal is to try to do this within a couple hours from now, so I'm just letting my phone charge, and then we'll be getting this party started. So can't wait to start this journey with you guys and whatnot. So, and I will probably also be doing an introduction when I do the Mega Man Versus thing as well, because I think I have to have a little bit of an introduction going into that game, just to be on the safe side a little bit. So with that being said, my name's Barry John. Hope everyone has a good rest of the day, and we'll get going here very shortly.